Hello, and welcome to the newest Alliance Writers Collective interview with, we got Dr. Steve Grusendorf here with us today. And so I'm excited to hear from Steve because Steve has done a couple things that most of us in the Alliance Writers Collective haven't done. So this is Steve. He's currently sitting in Columbus, Ohio, while I'm sitting in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hi, Steve. He's got
Hey,
his
everybody.
ACLD uniform on.
Ready to go.
Plugging the Alliance Center for Leadership Development. Is that correct?
Yep, you got it.
Awesome. Okay. So, hi, Steve. Thanks for giving us some time. For those of us that don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us what your position or role is. Tell us a little bit about your family, where you live, and anything else
Yeah,
to help us get to know you a little bit.
I'd love to. Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you guys, and thanks for listening for a few minutes. Grew up in the state of Ohio. I currently reside in the state of Ohio. So ministry has taken me on a very large and circuitous circle back to the state that I grew up in. So pray for me. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan.
Mhm.
It's painful, but Uh, background. I am married to Rebecca, been blessed beyond Jesus. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. I got two young boys, young men actually in my life. So I've got a college age student and a high schooler. So flirting with empty nesting and trying to figure out what the next stage of life will look like, and also helping these guys become young men, which is an adventure. And I'm learning as much as they are, I think. Professional background, started in pastoral ministry shortly out of college. I'm a Lancaster Bible College grad, so not too far down the road from where you are, Jim. But did my undergrad there. And then after a few years of kind of looking, found ministry in the Christian Missionary Alliance. Served at a number of churches for about 15 years or so before transitioning into my current role, where I serve at the national office of the CMA as the director for the Alliance Center for Leadership Development. In a nutshell, the Alliance Center for Leadership Development does three things. We help men and women who are moving through the ordination consecration process. We train men and women who feel called to ministry but don't have a traditional education background. And we provide leadership development tools and resources for lay people and pastors in the Alliance. So I get to do that on a day in and day out. It's a lot of fun.
We have sent one of our leaders through the Alliance Center for Leadership Development. It was a wonderful process for him. He was kind of a second career pastor later in life and needed to get equipped, and speaks highly of the program and highly of you, which, you know, we've had some Lancaster Bible College alum on staff here. So,
Yes, who I
another,
went to college with too.
yes, right. So, another great connection. Now, the Cleveland Browns thing. So I grew up a Cleveland Browns fan. I deconstructed that and converted to the Philadelphia Eagles just in
You
time.
run workshops?
Yes. Well, there's a whole like football hurt movement of
Okay.
former Browns fans. Yeah. So I grew up watching Bernie Kosar.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know there's not a lot of overlap between the writing community and the football community, so I won't go much deeper than that. But
That's fair.
okay. So
Jesus is my quarterback. There you go.
right. Okay, good. I have my Steve Grusendorf collection here of 3 of your 4 books, which
Yeah.
are we're going to talk about these in a little bit. Life After Salvation. This strikes me as mostly theological.
Hmm. Yep.
Practical pastoral theology. Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to have a D-Min to read this. The Fourfold Gospel, which is a modernization of the book by A.B. Simpson, and then your newest book, which is Leading the Church in an AI Age, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And
Cool.
then you have a 4th book. But what type of writing do you do?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm kind of a little bit of everywhere, but I'll talk about kind of the 2 that I'm most passionate about. The books that you see there, I'm really passionate about helping the church connect to deep thinking, but kind of in that middle ground. To your point, and I love the fact that you said, "Hey, you don't need a demon to read the book." That's exactly what I want that book to be. At the same time, I want that book to be something where people are like, "Oh, this is really deep. I'm learning. I'm growing." So I try and balance that. And I don't know if I do that well, but that's my goal. I want to write deeply, but have it be very accessible to folks. So that's really a passion of mine. That shows in like Life After Salvation. That shows even in the Modernization A.B. Simpson. So that's kind of one. The other one, strangely and weird, probably people, there's probably like 6 people on the earth that have read it, but I love writing some academic stuff. So I do some scholarly journal stuff, but that's of a different flavor. I really like using when I write in that realm. To be honest, I like using secular concepts to talk about Christian ideas. So sometimes I'll grab a secular concept that's maybe germane or no one's heard of, but I'll talk about that. That's mostly just for fun, and I'm talking to academics, and I realize I'm talking to academics, and so just do that on the side when I have some time.
Okay. What's how do you determine what you want to write? How do you get from I have an idea to here's the finished text?
I mean, I have more ideas in my brain than I have time to write. I think a lot of it is prayer, to be really honest with you, because I really want to make an impact with what I'm doing. Now, the impact is not like I want to sell thousands of books. That's not really the goal. But the goal is to say I want to see lives changed. It's really, to me, an outflow of my ministry,
Yeah.
even though it's maybe not in any of my professional job description. It's just a passion. So I'll often be thinking about use Life After Salvation, for example. I really felt like our Alliance family, who I think is one of my main audiences, just because of, right. What I found, this is just for free, but what I found is writing isn't hard. It's finding an audience to read your book that's hard, right? So finding what's your audience. So for me, the Alliance family is a bit of an audience. And I really felt like we needed to talk more about the concept of crisis, the concept of deeper life, because I feel like maybe, and this is just, again, just one guy's perspective, but perhaps there's a very large reformed voice, and I wanted to make sure that kind of the historical holiness movement feel came out again, not in an academic way, but in a practical way to talk about some of it. So like that drove that. Or my most recent book with the AI, a year ago, I'm just reading a lot of texts, and I'm seeing a lot of people from a secular perspective talking about AI and how AI is going to impact, and lots of conversations there. But most of the conversations in the church were just about, well, I use AI at work for this. And I felt like there's this missing gap. And I was like, I just really want to speak in
Yeah.
it. So I would say prayer and just a driving need to say, what do the folks in the church need that may help them move forward in their walk with Christ or their ability to reach their community for Christ?
Okay. Now you said something. Let's dig into your newer book, Leading the
Yeah.
Church in an Age of in the AI Age. Okay. Because this is something that I don't think anyone that we've interviewed for the Alliance Writers Collective has really done. First off, I got a chance to read this, and it answered so many questions. First of all, that I had, but also questions I
Mm,
didn't know to ask. But then I was
mm,
able to. This I didn't know what to. I mean, I think like many people, I know there's got to be some valid uses for AI, but maybe there's some other things that are not valid. But I didn't know exactly where to draw lines. And I'm also a dad, and I'm also
yeah.
a husband, and I'm trying to figure out how to use this stuff at home, how to use it in
Hmm.
ministry, how to use it in my personal life. This book provided so much clarity. Uh, in particular, I took away from it like using AI as like a research assistant, but not an authority. Is that an accurate summary?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
that's been so helpful for me. So you
Yeah.
use AI to help produce the book itself. Could you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about the process and the content of this book? Because it's
Yeah.
unique.
Oh, for sure. And if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I was ever going to write a book on AI, I would have laughed. I mean, I'm like, so it's new for all of us, right? And as an academic and as an author, like the idea of writing with AI is something that was novel to me too. So when I went to write the book, here's how I got to the spot where I had AI write the book with me. I was sitting down, I was beginning to write the book, and I felt the pressure of this is an issue now that I could spend a year, 2 years writing the book on, but we need it now, right? And so as I started writing, I was like, the speed that I write at, the time that I have to give this writing, I was like, the book needs to be done quicker than that. So that was one of the things. And as I started writing it, I realized, well, man, this is going to take a lot of time because I don't consider myself necessarily an expert on AI. and I hope that doesn't come across the book, but I was like, I have a lot of experience using AI, and philosophically, I think I've got some things that can help us think about AI. So what can I do? Well, then I had been using AI for a lot of other issues. Like we use it quite a bit in ACLD in a couple of different ways to revise and things like that. So I was like, well, what if I tried engaging AI in the process of talking about itself? Like, what would AI say about itself? And so that's kind of what got me down that journey of kind of getting into it. So some of it was driven by the time. Another issue was I didn't feel like I was a research expert on AI, that I could really speak to it, and so that's what started down that journey. And then just having some experience in the past of kind of using it. So like there's two appendix in the book, that I was like, I just want to get people into my brain a little bit. And the first one, which was about prompt engineering, which was basically how did I frame the conversation for AI so as it wrote parts of the book, it was doing it in a way that I wanted. And that was really important. So I had to go through several iterations of talking with ChatGPT, which is the primary AI tool that I used to write the book, to kind of get it to a place where it was writing in a way that I wanted it to be written. Because one of the things you find out about AI is it's very much servant oriented. It's going to give you what you want to hear. And I had to talk to it several times about saying, hey, I think you're starting to just tell me what I want to hear. I want you to give me, an unbiased look at this. I want you to push back if you feel like you need pushback. So it was definitely a running dialogue and something that I learned along the way. But to your point too, I also wanted to demonstrate, hey, AI isn't, let me just say it, AI is not the Antichrist. So it's not a bad thing. It's actually a tool created by human beings who are created in God's image. So let's think of it that way. It can be used for good. It can be used for evil. So it's actually just a tool. And what makes it good or bad is often the approach or the ethics of the person that's going to use it. So thinking through it that way was kind of how I started to use AI to write the book.
Yeah. So to be clear, and I understood this as I read it, the entire book is not written by ChatGPT, but it's you showing us how you came up with the prompt, entering the prompt, the response they gave, and then you as a human being with the qualifications of you have a PhD or a DMin?
I have a PhD, yeah.
Okay, so as someone with a PhD, now you're interacting with what AI has provided. You're kind of showing us how to use the tool, which was really helpful to me. Even just the prompts, like I write my prompts differently now, having read this.
Oh, good.
So, anything else about this that you think would be helpful for us to know?
Yeah, I would say here's the whole point of the book. We just need to have better conversations about AI in the local church. So it's not a book about, hey, Steve thinks AI is. That's really not what it is. What I did was I selected 6 themes that I thought are pretty prevalent in the church, key things that the church is supposed to do. Community is a good example. Like one of the chapters is on community. And each chapter has 4 parts. First part is just a story that kind of introduces us to why that idea of community is important. Then I go into a section on how has community been impacted by sin? Has it been redeemed by the gospel? And how has the church been uniquely called into that position? And I wrote that section myself. Then we go into a section that says, how is community, this idea, being impacted by AI positively and negatively? And how are people being shaped by it, right? That's the third section. And that was written initially by AI prompt engineering. And then I go through, like you said, and edit it. And then there's a series of questions at the end, which are designed to get the church talking about it. So, I did not write this book nor pretend to write this book as saying, hey, Steve's an expert and you should invite him into your church to talk about AI. That really wasn't the goal. The goal was I want to inform churches and church leaders to have better conversations about the positives of AI, the dangers of AI, and help them become a little bit more aware about how an AI culture is shaping the people they're trying to reach. Because I think that's the third piece that's really important. Like there are people being shaped by AI today that we want to go reach. And if we can understand the positives and negatives of how they're being shaped, we're going to be able to reach them better. We're going to be more intelligent in the way that we try and reach out to them. So that's how I did it. And to your point, the first and the fourth section, so the questions and the story intro was co-done by me and ChatGPT. the second section, the gospel, that's all Steve. And then that third section about AI was really AI generated. And then I went through and edited it to make sure that it was saying the right things and that its research was spot on and things like that.
Yeah. Well, awesome. It's a unique book because this is a new concept for us, and there's not a lot of thoughtful stuff from a Christian perspective to help us think about how to use AI. So thank you for writing it. It's been personally helpful.
Thank you.
Something else you've done that is unique is you have modernized an existing book. So there's a book called The Fourfold Gospel by A.B. Simpson. And it was written probably in the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yep.
So the language is, antiquated. You modernized it, brought it up to date using modern language and terminology. What was that process like?
Oh, that was so much fun. So, and just an aside, since this is the Writers Collective, like early on, before I had written anything, when I was in my doctoral work, I can remember my first reader saying, one of the easiest ways to get into writing is not necessarily to write your first book, but it's to revise or expand a current book that's out there. So that was just a great little, piece of feedback. Maybe you're out there and you haven't written yet, and you're like, how do I find a book that you love that's maybe 10, 15, 20 years, especially that one that has an author that's still living. Reach out to the author and say, hey, I'd love to add to the conversation, and could we revise and republish your book? You'd be surprised at how many people will be like, oh, you want to take my book and make it better and resell it? Sure, right? Because they're gonna benefit, but then you get the benefit of their previous work, right? So that had kind of stuck in my mind, number one. And number two, I'm an A.B. Simpson fan. Now, to be fair with you, when I came into the Alliance, I needed to become an A.B. Simpson fan. I didn't go to an Alliance college, so I didn't read A.B. Simpson much until I was in the pastorate of an Alliance church. But I really appreciated his writings, and now, particularly in my role at the ACLD, one of the things that we help oversee is the reading lists for ordinants who are going through ordination consecration in the Alliance. And so here's a book. It's 150 years old. It feels 150 years old. But I realized that when AB wrote it, like, he's writing to his churches. He's not writing to a bunch of ordinance. And so as I read through, I'm like, there's stuff in here, that is great. Then you get to some illustrations, like, yeah, that doesn't hit at all, right? Like, he has in the old one, the original one, he had like illustrations from everybody remembers the Civil War. I'm like, no, I don't. I didn't live through that, right? Or he's talking about certain things. You're like, people are really struggling with this. I'm like, yeah, they're not really anymore. Like, the original one had, people and healing. Healing is not magnetism. I'm like, I had to look what magnetism was. I didn't even know. So, so there's these antiquated concepts. So in the modernizing, think of it as revising a book, but when the author has passed away, right? Obviously, I would have loved to say, AB, let's revise your book. And I'm sure he would have been all for it, but he can't do that. He's not here. So it gives license for us to come in and say, well, let's just modernize this. And because for me, it wasn't scripture, right? It's not holy. It's just practical. I just kind of went through it. And my goal was, as I read it, I would just kind of go through it and go, all right, that section makes sense. I don't need to change that. And then I would get to a sentence or a concept of like, it's a little, let me try and say that in a way that he's saying the same thing, but it's going to hit. So when I modernized this particular one, I said, I don't want to change what A.B. Simpson is saying. I want to try and help people understand what he's saying today. And the biggest changes that I made, to your point, were sometimes when he would make an illustration, I'd say, let me give an illustration that clearly AB wouldn't understand, but people today would, to try and make that connection, which is exactly what he was trying to do. So it was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And, it wasn't really a thick book. So that probably took me like 6 months to do. And in modernizing, most of the hard work is already done, right? The creation of the thing is always the hardest part. So when it's already created and we're reading through it, we're just trying to clean it up and make it more accessible for today's audience. So it was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Doing another one now, which is fun too. So anyway, it's fun.
I imagine. Well, what are you doing next?
I'm working on Holy Sanctified, if you've ever read that one.
Yeah.
Really, really passionate about that one. That one I actually will probably add to a little bit. So I'm still wrestling with, do I call it a modernized version, or do I actually call it a revised and expanded version? Because there's just so much really good stuff in there, and we'll talk through. Anyway, it's fun.
Imagine when you are trying to modernize a book, you kind of have to get into the head of the author and understand who they were, like, and their values and their priorities, right?
Yeah, it's not actually that different than anything else that we do when we're writing good, so let's use theology or like pastoral ministry. Let's get into that world for a minute, because I can't speak to maybe doing like a novel or poetry. That may be different. My world's mostly theology. But when we have a favorite theologian, we start to read their work, and we start to get the idea of where they would go. It's very much the same thing when you're modernizing a book. It's just like, all right, I've read a lot of what A.B. Simpson has written over the years, and so that helps. So when I was writing Fourfold, it helped that I understood some of the other ideas and concepts that Simpson had written about. Because I think there's actually times when he writes, maybe he's talking about healing, where he actually speaks better about healing in a different book. So we're able to draw on that, so that as we're incorporating, which is a benefit too, right? Because he wrote this in the 1880s, so maybe he writes 20 years later on something. Now he's had 20 more years of life and experience to kind of refine his concepts. Now, how we can bring that back to that original book and go, all right, what we know of AB on this topic is he's developed it a little bit. So maybe we can massage that. But yeah, you want to get into their head and try as much as possible to know what they're passionate about.
Yeah. Awesome. Everything that you've published has been self-published? Is that the case?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So most of our writers are either independently published or self-published.
Yep.
What has that process and experience been like for you?
It's been generally good. I've worked, the one thing I don't skimp on is editorial. Because all of us pick up a book, and if it's just got bad grammar, misspellings, we
Sure.
discount it pretty quickly. So I've always worked with or hired my own editor to kind of work through that stuff. But other than that, every time I publish, I get a little bit smarter just because I'm learning along the way. So my very first book, I paid someone to do the layout, paid someone to do the publishing, paid someone to do the cover design, and I got a great product, but it's pretty expensive. And I realized very quickly, hey, if I want to write again, I'm gonna have to figure out more economical ways to do that. So nowadays I use a tool called Atticus, Atticus. That's an online layout tool. I think I paid like $100 for that, and it allows me to lay out the next 1,000 books that I write. So it's not per book, but so it's just nice. It's simple. So does it have everything that I'm able to do? No, but I've published Life After Salvation using that one. The AI book I published on that one. So it has enough tools that I'm really able to publish that way. I use a cover design a website called CoverJig. I think I spend $50 to design a book cover. So I look for economical ways to do those other pieces. And the options that I have are limited to my creativity and the tool. But in the end of the day, we don't buy books for the cover. We don't buy books for layout. We buy books for the content. And as long as the content's meaningful, then it works. So I use those. And then I'm a KDP guy. I'm a big believer in KDP. Because there's zero overhead, and B, I don't have to drive around with 30 boxes of my book in my trunk trying to sell it because I had to buy 2,000 copies in order to do it. So it's really, really nice. And in fact, if I take my personal author hat and I put my Alliance Center for Leadership CMA hat on, I've been pushing the Alliance into that direction too, for that very reason. There's not this massive overhead. So I would suggest if anybody's writing themselves and they don't use KDP, it's a great way to do it. Personally.
KDP is Kindle Direct Publishing. It's your ability to upload and publish your own content, and it goes straight on Amazon. You can do paperback, hardback, audiobooks, and ebooks, right?
And a fun little tool that's coming out. It's in beta right now. Is that Amazon is now doing AI-driven audiobooks. So if you're interested, you can go on to Amazon, look up the Fourfold Gospel Modernized, and this isn't a pitch to buy the book, but just take a look. Because it's in beta, they only offer to certain accounts, and for some reason, our Alliance account got offered that. So actually, we've put up an AI read audio version of the Modernized Fourfold Gospel. So if you see that audiobook, that's actually AI doing that. So that's, again, and it doesn't cost anything. So as an author, let's say you're like, I don't have the money to spend to have someone read my book. Well, a moment's coming in the near future where you can click a button and Amazon will do it for you for free. So it's really a cool tool.
My best performing book is the AI audio version of a book. So it's not a real person reading it, but people seem to like the robots more than they like me. So I wanted to ask how you have seen the Lord using your writing so far.
Yeah. The absolute best moments of my day when it comes to writing is when someone comes up to me or shoots me an email or talks to me and says, and I read your book and it really helped me. my first book, which was called Aftermath, a book for the spiritually wounded, it came out of a sermon series that I preached in several churches that had gone through conflict and hurt, and it really speaks to people who've been wounded by someone in the church. And so, sometimes, occasionally, I'll get an email from someone, and they're like, "Hey, someone gave me your book. I read it, and it's really helped me through a hard." I mean, that's why I'm writing. So, like, those are the moments for me that make it worth it. I could care less if I sell one book or 1,000 books. But if one person gets that book and they want to follow Jesus more because of it, or they've been able to reconcile with it, that's like for me, the joy of writing. Because I'm a teacher at heart. When I was in pastoral ministry, I loved the communication. Right now, I mean, do a teaching, so I have a teacher's heart. So when I can help someone understand something, I love it. Or like life after salvation, when someone goes, "Oh, like I've always wondered, like what the Alliance meant by crisis." Like, I love that. I'm like, great, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. So like, those are the moments that I love.
Awesome. Last thing before we wrap up, is there anything you could say to encourage our writers in the Alliance Writers Collective? Anything that's encouraged you that you want to pass on to them?
Yeah. I guess I'll just say two things. One, I'll speak from personally, and then I want to put my CMA hat on for a second, if I can. So personally, enjoy it. Like I love writing because I love study, and so it's an outflow of my study. So it's not hard for me to do. So just enjoy it, and don't look for 6 hour blocks. If you have an hour block, then write for an hour, right? If you have 2 hours, write for 2 hours. I mean, I wrote, to be real honest with you, I wrote Life After Salvation at Panera over the course of about 15 months, little bit by little bit. That's how it got written. And so that's okay. That's fine. Sometimes we look for that perfect moment. If I could get a week away, and I just start writing. So that's what I would say personally. The second thing I'd say from with the CMA hat on, the Alliance needs good authors writing. One of the things I've realized early on in my ministry leaders particularly, and again, that's my frame of reference. I know there's other forms of writing out there, but ministry leaders don't stop reading. They just stop reading Alliance stuff because we don't write it as much anymore. And that's not quite true, but that idea of, I think if you write it, people will read it. And so I would just want to encourage you, if you've got a message or a voice, and just add it to the conversation, because your perspectives and your experiences and your study of scripture is valid, and when you add it to the conversation, it makes the whole community richer. So not everything I've ever written everybody agrees with. That's okay. That's not the point. It's just trying to get the conversation out there. So have fun with it and keep writing, and that's, I guess, what I would say.
Yeah, awesome. There doesn't seem like there is a movement out there in the church that's moving forward that doesn't have a publishing arm to it, whether it's online or print or whatever. But
Yeah.
everyone that seems to be making an impact is writing. So
Yeah, and I would say here's the fun thing, right? So let me put my innovator hat on for a minute. We could look at that one of two ways. We could say, oh, our movement should have this formalized thing where we write, and maybe that'll happen one day. I don't know. But we live in a day and age where we're able to publish and widely disseminate our work very easily.
yeah,
And so I would say keep leaning into this decentralized version of writing and engaging, because that is unbelievable, right? The idea that we can publish a book with a global platform, and it takes about an hour and a half of work to get it accessible to the other side here. Unbelievable. So, that's a really cool opportunity, and just keep doing it. And I agree with you. Like, movements that are moving forward are writing and thinking, and those two things often go together. So,
have you ever thought of just taking this around and nailing it to the doors of churches?
only once a year.
At the end of October?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Steve, I really appreciate you giving us some time. The way some of these books that you've written have been really unique, and you've done some stuff that most of us are not doing. And so I just wanted to hear from you and kind of get a little behind the scenes look at that. So thanks for giving us some time. And I also want to thank everybody that's listened to this from the Alliance Writers Collective or elsewhere. Look forward to more interviews with more of our writers coming up soon. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.